Welcome back to 5 Talking Points, the show where I take 5 things from the previous Formula 1 Grand Prix and talk about them. It's as simple as that. We had an extraordinarily crazy race in Imola for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, so let's get on and talk about it. It was a different race to what we were expecting, wasn't it? A huge downpour in parts of the circuit meant that all the drivers started on wet weather tyres, sort of hampering Red Bull's strategy, as both cars started on the same tyres as Lewis Hamilton. But there was drama before the race even started. Fernando Alonso crashed on the way to the grid, damaging his front wing, whilst both Aston Martins suffered with hot rear brakes, with Lance Stroll's catching fire and Sebastian Vettel needing to start from the pit lane. Charles Leclerc also spun on the formation lap, but was able to rejoin easily. It seemed like no one could get the tyres fired up at all, with many drivers twitching out of corners or spinning, both on wets and on slicks, at different points in the race, including the likes of Nicholas Latifi, Sergio Perez, Kimi Raikkonen and Mick Schumacher under safety car conditions. Whilst he might not have been talked about much as there was a multitude of incidents behind him, Max Verstappen drove a flawless race. Starting third on the grid, he passed both Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton off the line to take the lead into Tamburello and didn't look back. He pulled out a 5-second gap on Hamilton on the intermediate tyres before Hamilton clawed it back to around a second and a half towards the end of the stint. Verstappen led every lap, apart from the one between him and Hamilton pitting for slicks, which of course Hamilton led. Once both had pitted, Verstappen had regained a 5-second gap, but things were about to unfold that would possibly make his time in front slightly easier than he might have thought. What's one of the rarest things you see in Formula 1 nowadays? A mixed up grid? A new winner? A Ferrari going quick? For me, it's seeing Lewis Hamilton making a mistake on track. Normally, he makes driving an F1 car look effortless in any conditions, but even he got caught out in these conditions. On lap 31, Hamilton came up to lap George Russell at the Tosa hairpin, who himself was trying to lap Mick Schumacher. Russell got out of the way, but he was on the dry line, meaning Hamilton got his tyres a bit damp to lap him. Hamilton slid into the gravel and the wall, breaking his front wing. He took his time, but managed to reverse out of the gravel and back onto the track to box for a new front wing. Hamilton was second when it happened. When he exited the pits, he was 9th and a lap down to Verstappen, but the next talking point on the list could have possibly saved his race. These two are used to fighting at opposite ends of the grid, but today they found themselves together right in the middle, fighting for minimal points. Imola 2021 lap 32 is probably something Mercedes will want to add to their muted words list on Twitter, as whilst Lewis Hamilton was in the pits changing his front wing, his teammate Valtteri Bottas and Mercedes junior George Russell had a massive crash at turn 1 whilst fighting for 9th place. Russell had DRS behind the Mercedes and moved to the outside to pass. However, with Bottas moving across, as that was where the dry line was, Russell dipped his right front tyre onto the wet grass whilst alongside and speared into the Mercedes, with both cars sliding across turn 2 and into the wall, causing a red flag. In terms of whose fault it was, both drivers blamed each other, but I don't think either of them are really to blame. Bottas was taking the race in line, whilst Russell lost control of his car because of that slight contact with the grass. The only thing I can think of is that Bottas should maybe not have cut across as quickly as he did, but even then there was still space for Russell to pass, even if it was a very small one. On Saturday in qualifying, Lando Norris put together a lap to qualify P3, which was an amazing effort. Unfortunately for him, the lap time was deleted because of track limits and he started P7. After lap 1 he was in P9 after a tricky start, but a brilliant drive saw him climb up to P5 by lap 30, including pulling out a 10-second gap on his teammate Daniel Ricciardo after asking to be let by. Lewis Hamilton's mistake and a penalty for Sergio Perez lifted Norris up to P3 by the time the red flag came along, and on the rolling restart, Norris instantly overtook Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari to move up to P2, and there he stayed until he was overtaken by Hamilton 3 laps from the end. He hung on to P3 to claim his second podium in Formula 1 and move up to 3rd in the drivers' standings, claiming 27 points, a 4th and a 3rd place, in his first 2 races this season. And that is it for 5 talking points from the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you like what you see and you want to see more. And if you don't want to miss a video, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button. You'll get a notification whenever I upload. Until next time, thanks so much for watching.